Welcome to the Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Uniquely Nelson. I'm your host, Chris Butler. With me, Simon Duffy, General Manager of Uniquely Nelson. Nice to have you back, mate.
Thank you, sir.
We're coming to you live from the Hop Federation on Trafalgar Street. So very colourful, isn't it? Very nice in here.
Perfect setting for the sport.
Yes, indeed, yes. And a shout out to the Williams family and thanks to them for the use of the venue. Great to have them on board. Joining us today is Steve Mitchell. He's the new Chief Executive Officer of the Tasman Rugby Union. It's fantastic to have you here with us, Steve.
All right.
Now, we must point out that you've only been 3 days in the job, so...
Correct.
We've got some hard-hitting questions for you. Want results, want everything.
I'll do my best.
Yeah. And rumour has it you've been locked in the office for 3 days just trying to get a see on things. So good to get you out of the office, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's I appreciate the opportunity, and you're right. I have been locked in the office to establish a baseline of where the organisation is initially is sort of the focus at the moment.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's get started.
Yeah.
Can you share a bit of your background and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. Look, born and raised Nelsonian. Went through primary school at Hampden Street, Nelson Intermediate, Nelson Boys College, and then I actually was a butcher a long time ago. Did my apprenticeship as a butcher, and then multiple other jobs
Here in Nelson.
Yeah, here in Nelson at Lord Brothers and 50 Bridge Street. It was, to be honest. Then I did a little bit of travelling and then came back and got involved in sport. Initially amateur boxing, ran my own gym in Nelson for about 17 years, represented New Zealand in a couple of events, World Champs, Youth Commonwealth Games, bits and pieces like that. And then got involved in rugby when my eldest turned 5, and by then we were living out in Upper Mootry. My wife and I bought bare land about 35 years ago, built a little family home, which we still retain.
Whereabouts in Upper Mootry?
Sunrise Valley.
Sunrise Valley.
Yeah.
Is that where they have the nudist colony at the end of it?
It's a little bit
I
further
come from Upper
back.
Mootry. Not that we even went there.
There's some interesting in Sunrise. You've got the Buddhist temple, of course, and then a bit further on you've got the nudist colony. But no, we're a little bit further down the valley.
Okay.
Just going back to the gym, where was that based?
Initially, we had one in Motueka, and then we moved it to Wakatu Industrial Estate.
Oh, right.
Fighting fit boxing.
Right. And in those days, I mean, obviously, the Rackleys were synonymous in their boxing days. So what were a couple of the names that used to get involved in amateur boxing back then?
Oh, well, I mean, when I first started, I was 14 years old and actually fought for the Rackleys.
Oh, did you? Right.
Perry, Dean, and Jeff were still fighting, and Alan McNamara was.
Yes, I remember.
I spent a lot of my life sparring with Alan and Perry.
Jeez.
As a kid growing up.
That would have toughened you up.
It was. I actually turned out to be a much better coach than I was a fighter, I believe. Yeah, so no, it was interesting times. And then I think we built probably 8 New Zealand champs in the years that we were doing it.
Wow.
Had 2 girls in the first ever Trans-Tasman competition, and I ended up doing a bit of time as the president of Boxing New Zealand, 4 years doing that as well.
Oh, wow, right.
In those days, we had David Nike, Patrick Malata, and Chad Milne, all working for the British Lionhearts, and a few other bits and pieces too. But yeah, rugby came into my life through my boys. I got 3 boys. They're all taller than me, slightly better looking. And apparently, I'm the short, fat one. In fact, they tell me. So yeah.
Did you pick up the passion for the sport? You mentioned Hampden Intermediate College. Were you playing back then?
No, look, I didn't really play rugby. I took a year off boxing when I was about 19.
Right.
And I played for Stoke alongside my brother-in-law at the time. To be honest, I found it quite challenging coming from a single sport to a team sport. And also being hit and not being able to hit back.
Yeah.
So
a few yellow and red cards, huh?
No,
Beginning.
They always say, wait till the ref goes before you hit back.
I met you at Fifeshire House when I must have been still doing some radio back then. It was only brief, but in there you were trying to raise some money for the Rangers club rooms, which actually turns out to be the Moutere community complex that it is today. I remember an old hall and a couple of tennis courts.
That's right.
Used to play on that, but now it's an amazing facility. You're a big part of that.
Yeah, look, I was president of Rangers Rugby Club by then. Like most dads, I started off as a junior coach and then JAB delegate, and then was sitting on the council of delegates. And we brought in Sport Tasman to do a strategy for Rangers, and they determined that the lack of appropriate facilities was our major hurdle to development. And then we came across the concept Sportsville, and so we started promoting it. And in those days, Tasman District Council would support 80% of capital build, as long as you had community connect. So we did a lot of homework, and we ended up with something like 53 potential user groups, and we had a target of $560,000 we had to raise as a community. And then I think it was a $2.5 million build. It funds its own operational staff in the office. It funds an activity coordinator, and it funds professional kitchen and bar staff.
Wow.
And it's coming up to 20 years.
How's that?
Successful next year.
Well done.
Was
That's great.
that a turning point for you? I mean, obviously you'd run your own gym. There was some experience in administration, but I just remember you going through that at the time, and the inference that I picked up was that, man, this is a big learning curve. I'm really passionate about doing this, but geez, you wouldn't believe what I've got to get across the line. Was that a big turning point for you in starting to learn about how to operate a reasonable size operation?
Yeah, most definitely. Setting a strategy and working to a strategy, that was probably the biggest curve, and setting a timeline, and then actually getting full community buy-in, going in and making sure your stakeholders are all aligned with the strategy, selling the vision, and then supporting the vision. That facility got picked up as a template for rural development by Sport New Zealand, and then over the next couple of years working for Sport Tasman, I travelled quite extensively around New Zealand telling other communities how to set them up, which was really, really interesting and rewarding.
Yes.
I mean, the benefit that particular facility's brought to Moutere has been mirrored. There's Geeson Centre in Renwick, there's Endeavour Park in Picton, there's the Murchison. And the last job I did on behalf of Sport Tasman was a feasibility study on the one in Golden Bay.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so no, look, I'm very, very proud of Moutere Hills as an instigator for those sustainable facilities and provision for communities.
It's a great facility.
It is a great facility.
I mean, it wasn't there when I was there. It was the old Hall and tennis courts.
It was.
It's amazing what you've done 20 years ago to get to where you are. So tell us about your journey that led you to become the CEO of Tasman Rugby Union.
Look, I've always had a passion for kids and sport. I have two rules: care and protection of the participant first and foremost, and what's best for the organisation. And you know, my pathway sort of, I was lucky enough to be given the role of operations manager at Tasman Rugby Union, and had two goals there: was the win the premiership and to host the first ever All Black Test, which was that was another amazing event. And then I just thought, I believed I had the capability to run an organisation. The opportunity wasn't here in Nelson. So my wife and I had just been through empty nest. So we were looking for another, adventure. Adventure. And then when I looked around the provincial unions, Southland was really, really struggling, but well aware of good, honest people. There was some hunting and fishing. And there's also motorbikes, and I'm a bit of a motorbike freak.
Off-road or on-road?
On-road, but I've got off-road as well.
Good.
Good. Did my time off-road, but now I've got a big beast of a thing that we cruise around on. But yeah, so took the gamble and headed down to Southland. I spent 10 months down there batching until Pam got the house all organised and could come down and be with me. We brought a little property down there, and we lived in the middle of suburbia, which was a change for us, 3 minutes from town. But just plugged in, and then Southland, we really helped turn it around. And then the opportunity came to back home, and I'd always said, 3 to 5 years minimum, 5 to 7 max.
Move on.
And but then I want to come home. The intent was always to come home.
Yeah, so I was going to say what attracted you to this role, but that's obvious you wanted to come home.
Yeah, and I'm also a proud Nelsonian Tasman person. In a previous role working with Sport Tasman, I worked across Tasman, so I had responsibilities in Marlborough and Nelson. and the wider area. So, yeah, I love this region. I love the people, and I'm a proud Mako man.
So being the new CEO, because it always sounds as though you've come in somewhere to sort something out, or you've taken something from the bottom to actually grow it, which is the role of a CEO or general manager. Because it's always good to have a new blood come in. So within the Tasman Rugby Union, what do you think your role entails, especially in the first, say, 6 months or time period you want to put on that?
Well, initially is actually just to get a baseline of where the organisation is.
Yep.
You know, where's things that are working, where's things that aren't, where's the opportunities for improvement. And I'm very people focused. I believe a provincial union should be local representation for local people as a priority. Realising that in different circumstances you may have to bring in a player from outside to help develop your own talent.
Yes.
But invest in the youth. It was something we managed to do quite successfully in Southland.
Yep.
We put quite some quality RDOs into the youth space. Spent 3 years working alongside Southland boys, and last year they won the National First 15 comp.
Yep.
From there, we've contracted 7 kids through on a PUDC that will soon be in probably 2 years playing for the Stags.
Yeah.
And then we're carrying on that system of investing in your own potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from the bottom up.
From the bottom up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know you've just got your feet under the table,
Yeah.
and you kind of touched on it, but what's the goal for the Tasman Rugby Union, do you think? I mean, presumably through the interview process, you've had some discussions with the board. They've, written up, I guess, a bit of a job description of what they'd like to see. You would have given them your observation. So what do you think the goal is for the Tasman Rugby Union?
Well, I mean, if you look at the recent media over the last 18 months around a provincial union model, it's definitely under challenge. So a sustainable, successful provincial union that actually develops and it gives the opportunity for local people to represent their local region. And at the same time, a fun and enjoyable environment for anyone who wants to be involved in the sport. And the ability to grow and develop, whether you're a coach, whether you're a manager, whether you're an administrator on the sport, or whether you're a player, the opportunity to play at your chosen level and have fun and learn some skills by doing it.
Yeah, because there's always that challenge between elite and community, isn't there?
Correct.
Marco have had some success, probably you would say rebuilding or going through a cycle of some younger players coming through, haven't quite reached the same success in the last couple of years. But then you've got the community side as well, and real balance, because all parties want to be successful in both.
Correct. I'm a firm believer that the health of your community game is fully reflected in the performance of your high performance team. Well, I believe it should be anyway. Look, there's a little bit of work to do, but Nelson and Marlborough are strong rugby communities. Empower the stakeholders to actually achieve their goals as well, and just make sure one family, one vision.
One family, one vision.
Family, one vision. Who wrote that?
Steve was right there. He's been in his office for 3 days.
Which leads on to my next question. You see, you're coming across very much as a people's person, or it's about people, it's about our community.
Correct.
It's about youth, it's about making people grow. What's the most challenging aspect? Not just coming to TAU, but going back 5, 10, 20 years that you've learned. And what's the most enjoyable aspects of some of those roles you've done?
Well, they're probably similar in some. I mean, dealing with multiple stakeholders with different and varying needs, and also some unbridled passion can be really challenging. Anything from sideline behaviour to all sorts of. Oops, someone trying to get it. All sorts of bits and pieces, but then that's also the most rewarding. When you watch a young man or woman achieve their own personal goals through your support, that's massively rewarding. I think it's a real privilege to be involved in young people's lives, and it's an accolade if you can be the rock that they kick from.
Beautifully put.
And I've always really enjoyed. I have a empowerment model of leadership. I don't want to be, but what do you need to be? Yeah.
We need to write that one down.
And I also, I believe in pushing from behind rather than pulling up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'm really looking forward to it. You know, it's been a long time away from home. It went snap. We turned around and it was time to come back, and the opportunity came. We're back in our lovely property in the Mootry with beautiful views. We're out of suburbia. We've given away screeching tires and everything for bird song, which is a lovely change. It's great for Pam to be home. She's wanted to come home for a while, and so full compliments to her for supporting me in the journey. You can't do it on your own. So no, it's a huge opportunity, and we're really excited.
So outside of rugby, it must be difficult to take the hat off sometimes, but you've already mentioned motorcycles, but what do you and Pam like to do?
Oh, look, we're fairly well homebodies. We like our gardens, believe it or not. We've got about 5 acres out there, and tenants sort of don't look after them the same. So there's a little bit of work to catch up again. But yeah, definitely motorbikes. I've got a big, beautiful bike I've had for quite some time. I've got one bike I've had since I was 18 years old, an old.
What is it?
It's a GL 1000 Honda Goldwing, the first one ever bought out. It's a big beast. Well, it was a big beast. It's not a big beast anymore. No. So, and then while I was down in Invercargill, to keep my sanity, I was buying old bikes at farmers and park in the back of the shed, doing them up. So I've come home with 4 extra motorbikes.
Oh, right.
So you were buying them for Pam, of course.
Yeah. I must admit, I took it down and put her on a little wee CT 200 Honda automatic down on a reedy beach, which terrified the hell out of her. But she did have a go. So motorbikes. I love amateur sport. I love combat sport. I love amateur boxing. I follow that. Yeah. And gardening and being with the family.
Have you had a chance to have a chat to the Victory boxing guys?
Yeah, look, when I shut my gym of Fighting Fit, a lot of our gear was moved into Victory boxing. Right. And initially with Paul, and I think at that time it was Marty Grant.
Yes.
I actually helped them run their initial program.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then one of my old competitors, Amy Benton, is now running the fight side of that particular gym, and she's asked me to call in and catch up with her athletes, which I will do one.
Oh, wow, fantastic. Yeah. So it must be good to see that, because that's just gone from strength to strength, isn't it, the work they're doing in there?
Sport is one of the best social development tools we have, and boxing has a real appeal to young people if it's delivered in the right culture. So I'm looking forward to catching up.
So as we know, we've covered, you just got your feet under the table for the first about 5 or 10 minutes, and we dragged you in here to do a podcast. But just sort of once over lightly, programs and initiatives that the Tasman Rugby Union is currently focusing on.
Between CEOs, the board has taken the initiative to step back and revisit the strategic plan.
Right.
And within the strategic plan, it's all about local investment, local players, local development. So look, to be honest, the programs that are delivered at the moment, they've got a women's activator program, they've got a junior ripper program, they've got some coach education, referee education, pretty much what I'd consider standard delivery. But I haven't really had a huge opportunity to look and determine who's doing what and what needs to change as yet. Yeah.
That's understandable.
Vision, what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years with rugby union? What can you see happening?
Despite the challenges that have been put out by New Zealand Rugby, provincial union rugby is the heart and soul. Yeah, it is the heart and soul. And although there was some disappointment over the vote retaining provincial union voice at New Zealand Rugby level, I always believed that was going to be the case. I think there's challenges throughout rugby. It's not only at provincial union level. I think the national and international level, and definitely the funding model needs further scrutiny. Down in Southland, we managed to cut our cloth, and we developed a surplus for the last 3 years, varying from sort of 40 grand through to 150 grand, but any surplus in a service industry is good. And we also managed to retain our $1 million Silver Lake investment and live off the interest, or the interest helped our operations. So look, I'd like to set up a similar system here where we're sustainable, where we generate a surplus and we reinvest it back into the sport. But there's a bit of work to be done. Even just getting a hold on where the organisation currently sits is going to take a bit of time.
The connection with the city, and the park's only just down the road. You've been operational manager, so you've have had some experience in the offices down by T Park, and then coming into the city. What do the players say about that connection with Nelson City, and what do they enjoy about it, do you think?
Oh, the player base, from what I remember, they absolutely loved coming and representing Nelson. And I was with the high performance team yesterday where they were just going through their initial plans for this year, and there's a lot more community interaction. Once again, they've picked up on the board strategy, and you should see a lot more of the Marco players out in the community this year.
Fantastic. And do they talk around the boardroom what they'd like to see in Nelson City? Because there's a lot of talk about, revitalisation, but any thoughts on that?
I've met with individual board members. I've yet to sit in a full board meeting.
Yes.
We've got one coming up soon. But, they're well aware of what shall I say, the responsibility a regional sports organisation has in representing and being connected to its community. And that's part of their strategy, is to actually revisit and re-strengthen that whole connect.
Right. Great. Fantastic. All right, Steve. Well, look, absolutely fantastic to re-meet you, and great to have you and Pam back in the district. We know what you've achieved in the past, so certainly know where your heart is, and it's great now that you've got an opportunity to be at the helm and continue the good work that the Marco have been doing, and take it on into the future. And great to see the kids on the park running around.
Look, like I say, it's a privilege to be involved, and we'll do our darndest to make sure things head in the right direction and are fully reflective of this community. And thanks for the opportunity.
No, it's good. Good to end the partnership that Unique Nelson supporting TRU this year and next year, whatever needs to be done. We're very much about the community, and some of your ethos, some of the things you spoke about is very close to our heart. And to that extent, we'll have unity.
Excellent.
To get where we need to be.
Appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
A heartfelt thank you to Steve Mitchell, the new CEO of the Tasman Rugby Union, and of course Simon Duffy, General Manager of Uniquely Nelson. You can find this podcast along with others at uniquelynelson.co.nz or on talknelson.co.nz and on Spotify, MBS Talk Nelson. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next time for more talk of the town. Until next time, this is Chris Butler and Simon Duffy signing off, saying, Nelson?
We are unique.
He always gets the byline wrong.
No. We have many bylines.
I was going to say fins up.
Oh, fins up.
Fins up.
That's true.
Unique fins.
Very true. Nelson, stay unique.
Thank you.
Thank you.